I have with me another wonderful reading teacher. She is teaches at the intermediate lab school grades, and she is, for us, that's 3rd through 6th grade. So I'm going to just ask you some questions that would deal kind of with your grade level. First one is, why do you assess students' reading?
Well, I think it's crucial for a teacher to know where their students are at in their reading ability, whether they are advanced or still struggling. By the time you get to 3rd grade, you're expected to know how to read, so the conventions of reading should be there, because now you really have to read for content. It's kind of a paradigm shift from 1st and 2nd grade, and so knowing where those students are at and what they're able to take and from what you're going to be giving them, I think is extremely important.
Okay. My second question is, what instruments do you use to assess reading?
We do a lot with fluency. We'll do that
Okay.
Quarterly throughout the year to just check and see how their rate is going, and within that we also will comment and make notes of the types of readers that they are, how fluent they're doing, the things that they might be getting confused on, and things like that. So there's a little bit more than just a straight time test that goes into play there, but we'll often comment and mark about how their actual reading occurs. And from that, if they are reading at grade level or above, then wonderful, we'll stop assessment there. But if not, then we pull out a developmental reading assessment to see if it may have just been the particular text that they were reading that they struggled with, or if it really is at that grade level they're struggling to read an appropriate amount of time.
When you talked about fluency, do you also look to see if they like pause for commas, stop for periods? Is that important as you're looking at fluency?
It is important. It's one of those things that I will note and
Okay.
kind of make comment about, because you have some readers that go too fast and they
Yes.
blitz right through it all, and then you have others that pause inappropriately. So those are just kind of things that I note, and then during that next set of instruction, those next 9 weeks, we'll really focus on how they sound, what they're doing, and making sure that they are paying attention to punctuation, because that does so affect their comprehension of what they're reading.
So do you do small reading groups based on their needs, just like they do in the lower grades, or?
That looks a little bit different. Sometimes it's a need-based, but if you only do it by need, then you end up having the same low readers always
Yes.
together, and they never have that experience of hearing somebody who does read fluently. So sometimes we will group, and usually I do a book at a time, and I'll try and pick my groups so that we all start and end about the same, but I make them be where they can change and interconnect with each other. Sometimes some of my funnest groups have been all boy groups and all girl groups, and just being able to pick texts that are high interest to them.
Right.
And some of your higher readers can help support those lower readers, and I feel like the more you're able to really discuss and talk about, even if the comprehension may be a little bit weaker, you can help walk them through so much more so that they're able to glean more out of the text than maybe if they were just reading it with their own level of readers. So.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, what particular strategies do you help to facilitate the growth of the students?
Well, there's lots of different things that I do. Oftentimes, like I said, the reading for fluency, we'll do different things to really bring that out. We'll be in a group, and I believe that every child in a reading group has a job, whether you're listening and following along with the reader. And I tell them up front, some readers will read faster than you, some readers read slower than you, but it is your job to know wherever the reader is at, you need to be following along with them. And then if it's your turn to read out loud, if you get hung up on a word or you get struggling with things, talking about different strategies to figure things out and stuff like that. But another thing that I do in my reading groups that I think is important, not only just reading out loud, but understanding the story, talking about it, kind of, we have more like a book talk than anything.
Oh.
So as things are happening throughout the chapter, man, why do you think the author put that in there? Or why do you think those things were phrased that way? So just really trying to bring out those comprehension strategies of author's purpose and sequence of the story and things like that. And then usually I'll do some type of written follow-up with what we've read for that day. And even though we may have read as a community or as a whole group, I will have it be where they do a written response privately. And so I'll write something on the board that may have been, why do you think the author did this, or what do you think will happen next, and get some predictions in there. And then they have to do a written response independently, and then oftentimes when we come back, we'll start the next group off with how we answered those questions and kind of get us back into the text again, get us thinking about where we left off, and then ready to move forward. So,
Do you ever use Reader's Theater?
I do use Reader's Theater. That is a loved thing. They enjoy that very much. And I do that where you read through the text. You can, sometimes I'll let them self-select the parts they want to play, and then we do a lot of practice, and that's probably the biggest time that I really critique how you sound and how fluent you are. So I use those quite a bit to really drive that, getting from, I'm not a very fluent reader to trying to be better at that. And so, but they love to do that, and then I always make sure we have an audience to perform in front of.
Good.
So I think there's value in having to give that to somebody else.
Yes.
And so whether that be we go and visit another classroom to share that with a group of students, or we present it to the whole class of 3rd through 6th, so we make it be a big deal to present, and we want to do that as well as we possibly can. So it kind of gives that extra leverage of them, well, I really want to sound good. And so they even have the opportunity to take their parts home and practice and stuff like that. Good. So it's not one of those things that we just get and then the next day we perform. I really try and have it be something that they develop and work on. So.
Oh, good. Thank you. So my last question is, what type of assistance do you give to the student who is far behind the others and is really struggling?
With that, I've done some different things. I've done some pull-out one-on-one. Okay. I schedule within our day some independent reading time where that's usually done silently, and oftentimes during that time of the day is when I'll pull a student out. And I don't just pull them so it's not obvious you're the bad reader, but I'll pull them out and say, hey, I want you to read this paragraph to me, and then we'll work on ways of really, a lot of times what I discover is that they still struggle a lot with just decoding words, and they get hung up on things, and so I'll let them, point out, okay, well, what would make sense here, and we still kind of go back to some of those early reading strategies. Did that sound right? Does that make sense with what you're reading? And then, so strong teacher support, but I try and also give them ways to figure out, all right, if I don't have a teacher around, what can I do? And we make available the computer. They can go to like a website and look up the word, and oftentimes you can type in the word and they'll pronounce it for you. They can read what it means. So realizing that they don't have to just ever be stuck. There are ways to figure out what you don't know. And so it may not be that a teacher's always handy, but you can maybe ask a neighbor or go to the computer or figure out some other tool so you don't just stalemate out and not do anything, but really trying to just come alongside them and help them walk through and give them the belief that they can do it, they can figure it out, and that they can move forward with the text. So.
Very good. Thank you.